Good afternoon. You're very welcome to the afternoon session. Thank you. Yes, we have everything, all the technology we need to get started. You're very, very welcome to the Teacher's Voice section of the conference. We met yesterday, or I met most of you yesterday. I'm Anthony from Ireland, one of the partners, one of the 17 partners in the project, and we've assembled an exceptional panel here for you this afternoon to give you insight into the practitioner experience and voice in this space that we spoke about yesterday has been so important in terms of combining that research, that technology, and the practitioner voice, as well as the student and leadership voice in the space. So we have 5 countries represented here. We have Agnella and Laurent from France, who'll go first. We have Seamus from Ireland, Carlo from Italy, Gerard from Luxembourg, and Zorana from Slovenia. This is a teach meet format. If you're not familiar with it, each of our presenters will take somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes to give you some insight into their story, into their practice. We will then have an opportunity for a question or two from the floor. So up to 10 minutes per country. And then unfortunately, there's a hard stop and we say, okay, we need to move on to give our Irish voice and then our Italian voice the same opportunity. So it's a bit it's a bit quick, it's a bit rapid fire, but hopefully you'll get a very good picture of the experiences. Some of the teachers here were very much involved in the experimentation and the control groups in our countries. Some were involved in a symposium in Ireland where we presented the experience from Ireland. So we have a primary voice here with Seamus, as well as some secondary voices in the group, but a huge mixture and array of experiences. Enough from Anthony. I'm going to call on Laurent and Agnella. First of all, round of applause, please.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Agnella. I'm a teacher from France. I come from the Nancy-Metz school district, the Nancy-Metz Academy, which is in the northeast of France, not too far from here. And Laurent and I, we work for the DAN, which is the Digital Academic Delegation for Education. So we work for the local school authority dedicated to digital. Okay, and Axel asked us today to talk about AI in our school district. And we're going to start with primary education. And the next slides, please. Oh, sorry. Okay. So we've been working with researchers, universities, and their laboratory for years now. And we have a huge incubator which deals with more than 50 research projects in our school district. And some of these projects are dedicated to AI, obviously. And the resources which you can see on the screens are used by primary school teachers in our school district. These resources are supported by the French Ministry of Education as part of the Pays2A, which fosters resources and edtech based on artificial intelligence. Caligo, you will find it easily on the internet. It is for pupils aged from 3 to 8 years old, and it is to help pupils learn how to write on a tablet. Okay. Lalilo is a French solution to help pupils learn how to read, and the 3 others are resources for math. Okay, and last October, we organized a big event in our school district for primary school teachers, school leaders, policymakers as well. There were about 500 people. And the teachers discovered plenty of resources, some of them using AI. And we organize regular training sessions in our school district to help teachers use these resources in class with the pupils. So that was about primary education. I'm going to switch to secondary education now. We have tram groups. Okay, trams means shared academic work. And there are 4 tram groups this year. So the first one is dedicated to technology. The second one is for foreign languages, meaning English, German, Spanish, and Italian. The third one is about music. And the last one is about information and resources and documentation at school. These groups are made of teachers who are digital experts, and they're working with an inspector. And the goal of these tram groups is to foster and coordinate resources, meaning that the teachers try out new tools and practices with their pupils in class, and then they write reports, which are then published on academic websites and on the French ministry website in a site called Database. So meaning that all teachers from around the world can search for these reports using criteria such as school subjects, age of the pupils, key topics, and these tram groups aim at developing competency among teachers from around the world. So these groups have started last September, and their reports will be available on the net by June or July 2024. Okay, what's more, in addition to these tram groups, we've got 2 other groups as well. One is dedicated to science and biology, and the other one is about engineering. Okay. Okay, it was a time before. And I'd like to finish about l'IA, c'est pour moi, because our school district participated in a communication plan, not for pupils only, but for citizens. And that was to make AI available for everyone and for people to understand how AI is in everyday life. And that's it, I think, for me.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I will present other joint project. I will start with the black logo on the top left corner. So I coordinating a group of trainers this year, and we are creating materials for teachers. So for example, yesterday we worked for the second day on the training support. We test a lot of resource and tools according to the pedagogical approach and different school subjects. So I choose 3 tools to present. So I start with knowledge. You will have a presentation this afternoon. So I just explained our project in the school district. So we have 100 teachers experimenting this resource in higher and lower secondary school. In different disciplines. So at the end, we provide the knowledge feedbacks to improve and to adapt the content. For my personal experience, it's a very interesting tool. If you have the good support, like a video, in one click, you can have the transcription. You can enrich or modify this transcription. And in another click, you can create quizzes, glossary, interactive video. So at the end, you can save your file in a H5P format and use it in a Moodle course and edit it if you need to modify again. The second one is Umata. A member of my group use Umata with allophone student. So allophone student is a student from foreign origin who doesn't speak very well French. And with this tool, we can drag and drop a PDF file, for example, and the student can use it to rephrase the instruction to understand with simply words, for example. So with this tool, we work on autonomy. And the last one. And the last one, so this is perplexity. I think you know Bing. This is the same. The most advantage is you don't need an account to be logged in, and you avoid the issues of personal data protection and authentication. I have an example with my student. Donc I use it in technology, in automotive technology. So I advise the student to realize a presentation on automotive. On automotive, I think, yes, I choose this one. And it can create slides. Donc I choose the format and the context. And at the end, we obtain the answer. So 10 slides with a little description. In another case, you can ask to produce the text for each slide. And you can see that we can have the sources. In fact, Perplexity is based on the two models, GPT and Gemini. But the difference is the sources. You can click on the sources and to have the links. But the most important thing is to have a critical look to the result. We have to explain it to the students, to critical and to modify and enrich this production. So at the end, to resume and to finish, I will say the main knowledge to develop is to how to write a prompt, and to have a critical view on the answers, and also to take account of personal data protection and ethical. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks. Big clap for Laurent and Aniela. If you'd like to take your seats here now, we have about a 90 seconds opportunity to take 2 Q&As. I wasn't trying not to be rude. I was trying to keep it moving. Have we 2 questions from the floor? That's a very rich and wide-reaching presentation from our 2 colleagues from France, so we're very grateful for. Any questions from the floor? Yes, we have one here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lena. Have we a second one? Okay.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I just have a quick question. According to you, in your experience, what is the main barrier for teachers to use AI in their classroom?
I think the most important for the teacher, it's not easy to use in class, in front of a class. If you have some questions, 2 main problems for me. The first is RGPD. I don't know if you know the word. GDPR, yes, GDPR. Yes, to find tools, GDPR tools, and also to have the good tools. So to have the good tools and to be able to answer student questions. It's not so easy. So we said this morning, the basics. We need to train for the basics.
Thank you very much for your question. Yeah, I'll go back on a second. Okay, for the second question, move on with the time. Thanks again to clap again, Yella and Laurent, please. Next, we have a primary experience from Ireland, and we have Seamus. Another big cheer for Seamus, please.
Hello, everybody. So just standing here, actually, I have a whole new appreciation of when I'm in school and I ask my children to go up in front of the class and present something. I have a whole lot more empathy now that I'm standing here in front of all you all. So my name is Seamus Barry, and I teach at Ballybrown National School in Limerick, Ireland. I suppose today I'm going to give you a practical presentation of how I use AI in my role as a teacher, but also as a school leader. Just a quick overview, I'm deputy principal and I'm also a 4th class teacher, which is about 10-year-olds in Ireland. We have a rural school with about 310 students. I started my career as an engineer, but then I progressed on to teaching. But whether it's engineering or teaching, I always had a passion for how I can use digital technology to improve my work. One of my roles at Ballybrown is to lead digital learning in the school, and I'll talk about that later on. And also, I just want to mention here that we have a digital learning plan in our school to give, like, you know, a planned way how we teach digital skills in the school. And we review that annually, but I talk about that at the end, where that comes into play later. Now, why use AI in my classroom? Well, first and foremost, I do use AI for work, and I use it on a daily basis. But I want to really emphasize that I use AI in a really, I have to use my professional judgment, my critical skills. Anything that I generate or any tools that I use, I have to make sure that they're going to benefit the children. I just don't take them and use them and plant them in for the sake of it. I have to see, are they going to benefit my work and the children's learning? So I'm very lucky in the school that I'm in, the principal and the whole environment. It's very open, and if you have something that you think you can try out and it's worthwhile, you're encouraged to give it a go. Even if you get it wrong, you're encouraged to give it a go. For my own research, I'm always looking at what new technologies can assist me in my teaching, and how I can implement effectively in my classroom. And obviously that learns to me using AI. And I suppose why we're all here, as educators, and specifically, how can I enhance my teaching so as to improve the children's learning outcomes? And it's the children that need to be front and center of all, I think, AI. And I suppose I came to the conclusion that AI can help me to improve the children's learning outcomes. And I just want to say, when I started using AI, it was like being in front of a classroom as a newly qualified teacher. You know, you're standing there in front of a class and you feel a bit awkward and you don't really know what to do, and you have to be very planned. That was the same with me when I started using AI. I had to be very planned and organized, and it wasn't very comfortable, but the more experience I got, the better skills I got. It now works a lot easier and it's a bit more organic in my class. Now, how do I use it? Well, I use different tools in the classroom. You can see some of them there, but I use it for three main ways: for planning, educational activities, and in my role, for my leadership role. So I just got DALL-E to create, this is my AI generated classroom. And so obviously I use tools for lesson ideas and kind of unit plans to help me. Now, I don't use them just to generate them. I use them to help me and assist me with those lesson plans. I still have to critically analyze them. It's like a brainstorming tool. I take the good and I leave the bad behind and use it in the context that it's needed. But I think a lot of tools where I find them very useful is kind of like differentiated learning activities, personalization of learning. And also we have a lot of students with, like we got some Ukrainian students that have no English, to help generate resources for those children. It's just a time saver. Now, in specifics, so I use Gamma for slide presentations. I find it very useful. You give it a topic, it generates slides based on that, and you can edit them to suit your cause. CurryPod is for whole class activities, you know, polls, games, lessons. The children love getting involved in that, their opinions. But also in terms of, in specifically DALL-E here at the top, it's an image generator. So you give it a text prompt and it will generate an image based on that. So for descriptive writing, for example, I get the children to describe a character from a novel or something, and they give me text. I'll input their text and it generates an image. But then we go back and revise it, and I tell them add more adjectives and descriptive writing, and they generate a new image, and they can see straight away when they add more descriptive, the new image is much more detailed, and it builds up a clearer picture in their mind. Now, I've done a quick one before I came here, and two images here on the left and the right. So I said, my name is Seamus Barry. The input I gave was, my name is Seamus Barry. I'm presenting a symposium in Luxembourg. Make me handsome and intelligent. So you can see on the left-hand side, it did quite a good job. I'm very happy with that. The second one I did was, I gave it the same input as the first, but I gave it more detail. I said, I'm presenting at a symposium in Luxembourg in a lecture hall. I said, there's going to be attendees at it. I'm at a podium. My hands are crossed. I'm wearing a pink tie, brown hair. I'm looking kind of anxious, but I'm clean shaven, and make me intelligent and handsome looking again. And you can see what it did. But the reason I'm telling you this, you can see the context. It generates a lot more context when you give it more detail. Now, just really quickly on leadership. So for my leadership role, it's completely different to my classroom. So I use it for a range of different things. Things like applications. We have to apply for things very regularly. And I use it to help me with that. I still have to personalize it, but it helps with that. data analysis. So at the end of every year, we get the whole school results for literacy and numeracy, and I can upload the graphs and our data without the student details and see if we can spot any trends. And I have done this manually for years. And when I compared some of the outputs that it gave me, they were very similar and was very useful. So things like book recommendations for the whole schools with Lexile levels, mathematics, I used it to help me develop a parent handbook or guide for the parents, and also in policy development. Now there's strict rules you have to follow for policy development, but it does help for generating ideas, some very good ideas actually. Now this last, I'll finish in 1 minute. This is our school progression continues. So we teach digital skills in our school. So from the time children come in as 5-year-olds to the time they leave us as 12-year-olds, we have a range of skills we'd like them to have. So for example, a 5-year-old might be turning on and off a device, taking a basic picture. To the time they leave, we want them to have maybe something like typing skills, how to use drives, use green screens, and running right across that continuum, we teach them internet safety skills from a young age to an old age. But my question is, my new conundrum is, when I'm now teaching AI skills, I'm going to have to add this into our digital plan that I mentioned at the start. And where do AI skills come into that? What age do I start teaching? Do we start teaching our children in school AI skills, and also providing the teachers with the skills they need to be able to use AI appropriately in our schools? So that's where we're at the moment. And finally, I suppose what's next? we're going to keep updating our digital learning plan to make sure it's in line with best practice. There's European Digital Action Plan, which we've looked at in school, especially Action 6, which is ethical guidelines in the use of AI. I think one huge thing is in-school CPD, continual professional development. This is going to have to be ongoing and systematic to reflect the speed of change. And I think a key thing is getting student and parent involvement and upskilling them to give them the skills that they know what AI is and how they can use it. And finally, I suppose I've mentioned this previously, like joining other like-minded schools locally, nationally, and internationally. I think to share what we're all doing, best practice, so we can all share it together. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Seamus. Have we any questions for Seamus on the floor? We have a couple of hands up there. Lena, if you don't mind. 2 questions in the middle of the floor.
Thanks for your presentation. Could you give us examples of difficulties you met in students' conceptions or misconceptions or questions, or, well, do you start sometimes from students' questions or students' conceptions?
Just
Thanks.
hang on, Seamus. We'll take the second question as well. So we have the 2 questions and you can see is there any overlap.
Thank you. Actually, 2 parts of 1 question. First one is, have you ever confront concerns on the GDPR aspects? You have very large scope of implementation of different technology. And the second part is that, can you also explain if it's you have a sharing process with your fellow teachers within your school, and also with other schools, as described, for example, by the French colleagues at the academic level.
So Seamus, there we have questions there on any student misconceptions, something around the kind of regulatory framework, that GDPR piece, and maybe that staff sharing piece. So if you want to address some of those.
And then, excuse me, there is a third question. I don't know if you want to do it right now or after the
We'll take it now, because it gives Seamus a chance to kind of put all his thoughts together maybe in one concise response. I remember them.
I have a question. When it comes to AI troubleshooting, for example, you have some teachers who don't know how to use it and they have issues with it. How do you deal with that? Because in Malta, they usually go to the computing teacher, they go to the IT teacher when it's not their job. How do you go about that?
Okay,
Thanks.
so we put that together with misconceptions. We talk from the student perspective, their misconceptions or their inability or difficulty in using it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I suppose we do have misconceptions, absolutely, with students. And one of the key misconceptions that we have is, I actually have on one of the slides I didn't get a chance to talk about, is regularly what comes up is if a student is in class, I know colleagues mention it all the time, they say that we'll just ask ChatGPT, they know everything. And it's a genuine concern, because when students actually believe that this will tell them the answer and it's going to be correct, that's a huge problem for schools, because obviously we all know that that's not the case, but the children don't know that. So that is somewhere that's going to feed into our digital learning plan, that we actually have to teach the children skills to critically analyze the information that they're getting and not to believe that everything that they see is true. So that's
Thanks, Seamus. And they're on staff support, or what your intentions are there?
Yeah, definitely in terms of staff support, I think continued professional development is crucial in this, and that it's definitely my role as a leader in the school to provide the staff with the skills that they need to implement this properly. And I think it would be very unfair of any school to ask staff use this tool without giving them some sort of foundational knowledge or base that they can use, that they can work from. Because staff are the same as children. This is a new concept, and I think we're all working from the same base that people don't know about and don't know how to use it. So I think it's crucial that children or staff are provided with CPD as well. Yeah.
And you're really on the spot now, because we had a lot of questions for you, but there's one there on that kind of data protection policy piece in the school or GDPR. From a leadership perspective, any insights there?
I think it's vital, and we've spoken about this informally within our school, that the importance of not using personalized information when you're generating, when you're using AI within the school. And it's so important that teachers are aware they cannot use personalized information for that. And just finally, in terms of the last one about sharing within our own school and in other schools, that's something I think I've spoken to both Niall and Anthony, that I think that that's the next phase of it. And I mentioned it there, sharing like practice between our own school, local schools, but nationally and internationally. And I think that's something that maybe might come out of this conference, where it would be brilliant for, I know our whole school and many schools around us would be only delighted to talk to European counterparts to see how you are using it in different places. And that maybe is affirming for both for you and for us, that maybe the skills, like what we're doing is in line with best practice, or we can learn from each other. So I think that's kind of the next natural step in this whole thing.
I'm sure Petra's delighted to hear that in terms of the knowledge networks that will emerge from this. We invite you to follow all social media on the project in relation to opportunities to engage with colleagues from other countries. A big round of applause again for Seamus, please. Next, we have Carlo. So we invite Carlo for his presentation. So Carlo, once again, you have somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes and maybe an opportunity for a question or two. So a big round of applause for Carlo, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlo Valentini from Italy. I work in a technical school, in a vocational school, actually, in Novara, that is quite near Milan, in the north part of Italy. And I thank my colleagues, but I'm lowering the level. I'm sorry, lowering the level, because I just want to start from my student. He's Tommaso. He works on the AI as a tool instead of the main subject. He works on a Parkinson detector as a school project, measuring the body movement and the joint in micro movements in order to diagnose the disease instead of using medical data. And or some other students work on this image learning system that are going to understand if someone are going in the wrong way on the highway. So this just for say that there are many excellent projects, but you have to start from the very primary school. This is me quite tired after managing 28 pupils engaging, enjoying the AI tools, because we are going to use the tools as a friend instead of a substitution of actually an issue. For example, you are going to train to recognize if you are Spider-Man or the Hulk using picture figures or action figures. and then the pupils are enjoying it to try to cheat the system, gaining the conception and the meta conception of what the artificial intelligence issue as a feature, if we understand if it's red or green. Sorry for my English, I'm not really fluent in English. Even I download the Duolingo app, I don't apply daily as I could, it's my fault. So they can understand practically what was the bias and what was the issue and the feature that the system are going to understand, that it's quite different because of the algorithms techniques is very different from your way of understanding the realities. This is another task I'm gonna use quite often with the students. I don't know if you're familiar with the Unfinished Fable of the Sparrows by Nick Bostrom, that it's the preface of the superintelligence textbook we are gonna use. The main is that sparrows are going to choose to train an owl in order to make their hard works, building nests and defending themselves from the enemies and so on. But instead of training an owl, they are going to have an egg. So when the owls are born, they are going to teach to the owl what they prefer. And so boys and girls are trying to draw a data set in order to train the artificial intelligence on who could be a friend or an enemy. And then they are trying a test data set in order to understand if a human or a flower could be recognized as an enemy or a friend. So practically, they are going through this soft skill of critical thinking because they are trying themselves what you're doing. About the question of privacy and accounts that made by school and so on, many of my works can be given unplugged, even to make the students understand how the artificial intelligence actually works, instead of being quite magician, something that type inside a computer. They're going to put them brain for the. On the other side, we are going to teach being familiar with the AI tools for the teacher too, for my colleagues. So we are a peer in peer education. We developed some courses and MOOC about comunicare, that it's speaking, or vedere, that it's seeing, or sentire, that it's feel, both for, let me say, humanities teacher and STEM teacher, in order to give them their actually tools, because they have to be themselves confident with the tools before bring it to the pupils. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlo. I'm pretty certain there's going to be some questions for Carlo from that wonderful presentation. He was very hard on himself about his level of English. I think we'll all agree it was very, very clear and very articulate. So who have you questions on the floor? I think we're back still for a question, have we? Great.
More a reaction than a question. So thank you very much for the presentation. I really enjoyed the end with humanity STEM. First time I see the two of them. Obviously, we all deal with humanity and STEM. In France, we try to do much more STEM with an E for art. But humanity and STEM is so good. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Axel.
You're welcome. We do really realize that many of the STEM teachers are already engaged in artificial intelligence because of themselves, because of the passion, because of they like to studying. But many of the humanities teacher doesn't. And we want to understand how this soft skill could be as much as more or horizontal, on the curricula instead of being a guest. For example, I have some colleagues that are Italian teachers that don't want to use ChatGPT as a devil. Yeah, no ChatGPT at all. But you have to integrate instead to deny, because actually students in the afternoon, they are going to doing their homework using ChatGPT. So if you are not to, our work is to educate to the tools, not to deny.
Thank you, Carlo. Very good point. I think that's actually a lovely way to finish off Carlo's presentation. There's a lovely message for us all. So I think we'll leave Carlo's piece at that. Thank you very much, Carlo. Excellent. Well done. Big round of applause for Carlo again, please. Keep your round of applause going, because now we have our colleague from Luxembourg and we have Gerard. So another big round of applause for Gerard, please.
Hello, thanks. My name is Gerard Kraus. I'm an English language teacher in Luxembourgish high school. And I was asked to sort of present my practice to do with AI. To do that, I currently only teach 2 classes, and I picked up my graduating class to use AI in. Graduating class, they are 19, 20, 21 years old, depending on how long they took to get through the whole labyrinth. But I saw through the AI4T program that there were a couple of things that I could literally immediately use in the classroom. And that's basically a 3-part presentation that I'm going to be doing today. The first one is to do with teaching about AI. 2023, there was a text in the baccalaureate exam that had this title, and it was about AI chatbots being used in American universities to cheat on assignments. The text then goes on to identify a couple of issues, present a couple of solutions, and how universities, how colleges in the US have started adapting to AI in their work. And this could literally be transferred to Luxembourgish high schools as well, because in tests, you find that people are doing really well if you don't look at them. And then when you look at them, check on them, then they don't have access to their phones. Then all of a sudden, stuff goes wrong. The question in the exam itself then turned out to be, can we replace educators with AI? This is the question right there. The baccalaureate exam for English language is composed of a known part where they have to just basically regurgitate information about text. And then the second part is based on this type of text and on a related essay question. The essay question itself asks them to write a structured essay. We preach, we teach, we force them to use a 5-paragraph essay. We even go so far as to deduct marks if it's not exactly 5 paragraphs, or are forced to anyway. So the first use that I found was to give them some sort of, give them the structure, to use AI to give them the structure, not write it, but give them the structure. To continue on teaching about AI though, I just recently marked their work on this mock exam, and what I found was that a lot of them were thinking or thought that AI would be unsuited to use as the teacher because of the lacking teaching skills and attributes, but also because of the empathy and all of the other elements that only humans can bring into class. I was very happy to hear that, because they are, after all, a class that is moving towards social jobs, educational jobs, assisting jobs, and so on and so forth. So they clearly bring that out there. The other thing that they really brought forward, or was part of most of the answers, was this ease of access. It is everywhere. We can easily use it. Some said that that might also lead to some sort of dependency. And if the power goes away, all of a sudden we are lost. But, you know, you could make the same argument for the internet for that sake. And then on the other hand, you also have some people looking at the dangers of automation. What would happen if we start there? Where would this end? Would we all lose our jobs? Who would pay for unemployment, and so on and so forth? Some people understood or misunderstood the whole question and said, no, we can't just put a robot into the classroom. So understanding what a generative AI chatbot is and what a robot is, some people were not quite clear about. So there is a need to teach about AI. And based on the answers that I got from this, I really need to go back, explain again how AI is taught, how it works, and basically provide them with some sort of information, because I feel that AI is going to be a big topic in this year's exams. The second part is using ChatGPT to give them the structure, as I just teased. They have to write this 5-paragraph essay. I gave them the opportunity to use ChatGPT in order to brainstorm, because a lot of the time I see that when they reflect, when they brainstorm about a certain subject to write about, they're going to have a hard time getting away from something that they focus on right at the beginning. And so using ChatGPT actually opens up the sort of spectrum of ideas, of arguments that they're going to be able to look at, that they're going to be able to consider. And so that really brought forward the use of AI in the classroom. It also allows me to assign multiple questions to certain groups in the classroom. They can generate ideas and structures for their essays without me having to focus on just one and going to my black or whiteboard and presenting that one idea. I can separate the group into class into a couple of groups and then get them to work on the various different ideas at the same time. So yeah, just basically providing arguments that go beyond what they might be thinking of initially. And then finally, DFID, because I want to make my life easier as well. DFID, I think most of you know about this. I used it this year particularly because I composed a portfolio of all of the texts, of the 8 texts that the students have to know for the known part of the exam. DFID allowed me to compose a list, a glossary for them of the words that they need to know from the texts to use in answers. Of course, you have to go through that and then pick out the things that are obviously not really apt for that glossary. But it allows you to, yeah, to get rid of the repetitive task of having to pick out the things that are not necessarily super enjoyable. I'm a really slow reader, probably some undiagnosed learning disability somewhere. And basically, DFID allowed me to easily go through those texts, provide the learners with some help that they need. Also, it allows me to ask some questions or to get it to compose some questions based on those texts. I can check those and feed them back. And that'll be that for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerard. If you want to take your seat, I'll see is there any reaction or questions from the floor for Gerard. We have a question from Yanis or a reaction from Yanis. Have we a second or third question? The cogs are turning, so let's give you a chance. Yanis.
You wrote discussion, so here you have it. A comment, and I'd like to comment on this comment. You wrote teachers will become obsolete because of ChatGPT. Okay, not the case, because teachers became obsolete because of MOOCs. Yeah, you could watch videos, you could answer questions, kind of tests. Yeah, it was not the case because teachers actually became obsolete because of YouTube. You could watch the lectures, perfect lectures from MIT, Stanford, the best universities. Actually, teachers became obsolete because this guy, Gutenberg, he invented print. So textbooks could be printed, and we don't need teachers anymore. So your comment on that, on how ChatGPT is different from MOOCs and YouTubes and textbooks. Why is this a revolution that never happened in history? Although it happened 4 times already.
Thank you, Yanis. Gerard, do you want to react to that?
Yeah, and podcasts and television and yeah, right.
Okay, so
yeah, this was a students writing that, so they clearly need to be taught about media somewhere. Yeah, I think it's what you said. We've had so many so-called revolutions, and it also always flows back to, okay, yeah, but who is going to tell you how to do that? How to use it sensibly? How to get critical thinking into the arena to make the best use of it? Because I see some of the students relying heavily on it. Making their homework or getting the AI, the chatbots, the generative AI to generate their homework for them. But when it comes to me putting them in an assessment situation where they're not going to be able to rely on that, they're not going to be able to replicate what the chatbot did for them. So it's me going out and saying, absolutely, you can get the chatbot to do the homework for you, and if I check it and you have it, I'm going to be like, oh wow, you did your homework, well done. But again, it's the old saying of, you're not going to be studying for me, it's for you that you're going to be studying. That old chestnut. But yeah, thanks. Yeah.
On that old chestnut, I think we will move the conversation on, if it's okay, because we're conscious of time and getting people to lunch and what gives Zorana our full time. Can we have a big round of applause again for Gerard? And a louder round of applause for our final presenter, Zorana, please.
So hello, let me introduce myself first. My name is Zorana Fabrici Robnik. I'm an English teacher. I teach at this beautiful school in Maribor, Slovenia. We are a grammar school and we have 15 to 19-year-olds here. And despite from the looks of this building, you might suspect we are very old school, it's very traditional. We're right the opposite, actually. We're one of the most innovative schools in Slovenia. I dare to say that because we have very, let's say, generous headmaster who's very supportive from this aspect and supports us whenever one of the teachers or maybe a group of teachers want to start dealing with something new and engage themselves, but usually that's our extra time. So I'm going actually to talk today about how our school approached artificial intelligence and the challenges it brings along. So being part of this AI for Teachers project, we managed to get 5 teachers, including me, of maths and English who took part, and 4 of them finished the educational part, but we managed to get the 5th one to do that soon as well. So maybe just this final part, which is mostly interesting, is that we did not just take part in this project, but we also saw a challenge in getting more teachers, so more of our colleagues to take part, to cooperate, to start dealing with it, to start educating themselves, to try out something new, so to get to know the tools and so on. So because of that, because every month we have teacher meetings, so we started to incorporate these small lessons, but very small, general, short, not to be intrusive, not so that our colleagues wouldn't feel like they're pushed too much. But the very first response we had from March last year was that they were extremely reserved, extremely insecure, extremely concerned, because, I don't know, the AI, it bites, it screams, it jumps, they don't know what it can do. But this was just the very first step. And this is maybe the whole strategy. So step one, introduction, that's what I just mentioned. That was the very first teacher meeting. So we just generally and very shortly explained what we know about AI and so on. We wanted them to see that it doesn't bite. We just typed in some prompts for them, actually personalized ones for teachers of Prva Gimnazija. So ChatGPT, please tell our teachers what artificial intelligence is and how they can use it in the classroom, things like that. And after this first meeting, the responses were very mixed. So from very excited teachers to those that were like, oh, nothing for me. I don't want to talk about it, not to mention trying it out in the classroom. So no way at that point. However, after 2 days, we all received from one of my colleagues that she managed to get a poem, an ode dedicated to Prva Gimnazija. And everybody started talking about it right away. I mean, such a small thing actually, but it meant a lot actually for the whole teacher community at our school. So then in June, I just presented a final report. So how we cooperated in this AI for Teachers project. But what's important, I think, is this step three. So the whole thing is being continued. Our headmaster got 7 of us together now. We are a special group at our school working on this, trying to encourage other colleagues, educate them. We demonstrate different practices from our subjects. So the 7 teachers I mentioned, we are actually from different fields, different subjects. 3 of us are in foreign languages. Then we have a psychology teacher, maths teacher, history teacher, IT teacher. And we then have our internal meetings. We then first discuss what we're going to do next. So we already had 1 workshop in October. Another one is coming now in March, and there will be more in which we gather groups. The first one was very general. So for example, each of us presented one of the tools. So what they can do in different subjects. Of course, me as an English teacher, I cannot teach art or maths or things like that, but you know, you can show them those very general things, what they can do. And it was quite successful again, because for example, for my group, I knew there were 2 colleagues that were extremely like, no AI, don't even mention that. I was extremely surprised because one of them, she said, oh, I have to tell you, I already attended a course. And I was like, really? I cannot believe it. So yeah, things are starting to move on, and less teachers, I think, feel that fear. So in the next workshop we are planning now, actually in February, we will gather groups of teachers, so departments, and there will be personalized and targeted workshop, so especially for English, especially for, I don't know, physics, humanities and things like that. I'm not a maths teacher, by the way, but my colleagues shared that with me. These are the tools they used, but please don't ask me too much about them. It's just to show. And this is what we used in English during the project. So mostly Instatext and ChatGPT. Instatext to improve our students' writing skills. But I will talk more about those practices, so using AI tools, then in a workshop that will take place sometime later today. So maybe just a short overview of that. And yes, our school again. So we cherish the tradition of excellence, and we think that AI should be included as well. So thank you for being part of this project. We cherish it, and without it, I'm sure we wouldn't be as far as we are at the moment. Thank you.
Many thanks, Zorana. Have we any reactions or questions for Rihanna? We have two there in the middle, Lena. So we'll pass that microphone in, we can get there.
Thank you very much for your presentation. For all your presentations, I have a question that is maybe a bit at the frame of this conference, maybe pushing a bit the border, because we have basically three main stakeholders, right? We have the teachers, which are the main target group here. We have the students, and the third is the parents. And I would like to know from any of you who would like to share something about this, what do the parents think? Because we spoke about the fable of the sparrows, basically. Yeah, about this, and we spoke about what children still need to learn when they have all these tools, and will they lose certain abilities when they use the tools and so on. So what is the parents' reactions maybe across your schools?
Thank you. We'll hold the question. We go to the second question and we'll see is there a relationship between them.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I noticed that for the math and the English used like multiple different tools. So what I want to ask is that for which indicators you will consider when you select one AI tools other than another one? And also for some tasks, what will you consider that I will use the AI tools to support on this task, or I don't want to AI to help me do this kind of task?
Thank you. So Zorana, we'll give you a chance to think about that and to react to that in your head first of all. I'll ask any of the other panelists if they'd like to comment on the parent voice and all of this. Yeah, Seamus wants to come in there.
Yeah, just from my own experiences, I know that parents are, like, we had an internet safety workshop recently in our school, and the topic of AI came up in it. And it was this was for parents after school. And parents are, as far as I can see, very concerned and worried about AI because they don't have the skills either. And this has been introduced to parents at the same time as children. So often children have more skills than the parents themselves, and they're very worried about it. But I think all parents, and I'm a parent myself, would like to know that if my child was going to school, that this is a life skill. AI is here and it's not going anywhere, and it's going to be developed over time, that the children would be taught the skills of how to safely navigate it. But I do think parental role is very important, and I think parents also need to be educated and given skills to know, like, how to use it. So when their children are using it at home, that they have an idea how to use it safely as well. So I think it's a two-strand approach that's going to have to be taken, obviously educating the children, but I think parents are going to have to be educated as well, and maybe through the schools or possibly after schools and things like that. But absolutely, the parents, I think from my perspective, anyway, want to learn about it and are happy for their children to be given the skills to safely navigate it, rather than allowing children not to dive in without any skills at all.
Thank you, Seamus. Would any other panelists like to comment?
If I
Carlo
can reinforce this topic, actually what we're going to do is to skip the parents because it's quite hard to engage the parents into the school, and because pupils are smarter and learn more quick than the parents. So actually we work on the pupils, on the boys and the girls, in order to educate their parents. Seamus said that they attend a meeting with the parents. Also in my school, we are trying to engage the parents. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 people each event we are going to organize, because they are not engaged in the school system, and they delegate to the teachers actually the education of the new technologies that they doesn't know. So we work a lot on the colleagues in order to educate the teachers, and then between pairs, sometimes even the parents, because they are the same age, more or less, than the parents, the students' parents. But we are going to skip this target, no, because we lost it. We lost them.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, Carlo. So there's this question there on some, our response there on the approach, and maybe the opportunity with this kind of vulnerability to get all stakeholders together. I'm going to bring that question in a second, but I want you to give Zorana a chance to respond to the choice of application.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think we were listening to those things yesterday a lot, that the use of AI needs to be meaningful. So we, on one hand, the teachers need to know about it and all the tools, so you don't use it if you don't know enough about it. And on the other hand, it's also the students. Maybe if I just tell you an example from one of my English lessons, we all think that students know so much about it, that there are, I don't know how many steps ahead of us, but they actually don't have an idea about it. I did an experiment. Actually, it wasn't meant as that, it was just a lesson in which I presented AI with help of some BBC video in which it is explained what generative AI is, how it works, and how we get those answers. It also explains some vocabulary, which is essential for me as an English teacher. And I have to tell you, the students did not have a clue about it before it. So I think that our role should be also to educate students about that, to tell them how things work, how they should use it. So it's definitely not meant to be used all the way, because there's still this human approach that needs to be present. For now, according to what I just said, for myself, I cannot say that I will be using AI all the time. So maybe just for some minor activities, icebreakers, motivation, because AI still has that motivational effect. It's a novelty. I remember years ago when we started with digital tools in the classroom, and you just substituted a chalk, so writing on the board with a chalk, with an overhead projector, and you had a projection of what you would normally write on the board, and they were like, oh, wow. And that's what's happening with AI now, I think. So, and maybe another thing I would like to add.
Just briefly, Zorana, yeah.
The thing you asked about parents, I'm a class teacher at the same time. And I have to tell you that parents don't ask, at least not at our school, much about it. But maybe as we are already educating our colleagues, maybe we should also try doing that with parents a little bit and telling them about it, because they just don't know things.
Thank you, Zorana. We're taking the rugby approach here. The clock has stopped. We're into the 80 minutes, but the ball is still in play. So we're time for one more reaction or one more question before we conclude.
Thank you. I just have a quick comment. As you discuss parents, I'm reminded of a paper that I read recently where they were teaching machine learning models to secondary school students, and they wanted to include the parents in the process. So they developed materials that students could bring home with them, that were their goal was that the students might, it would be read by the parent and involve them in the process of learning about what the students were learning. And I just wanted to mention that it's a thought that maybe in the future, if you want to include parents more, to develop materials with that in mind.
Thank you, very interesting, and reinforces Carlo's approach there. Folks, before we do a final round of applause, right? The conference was designed in such a way that the conversation will be collective here, a whole group conversation, a chance for some people to come in, but after lunch, you get a chance to work with these teachers and other teachers in much smaller, more intimate groups. You also saw from the French presentation, knowledge and visual science were mentioned, so you get a chance to get insight into those. So you have a lot to look forward to. I know from a teaser from our own two Irish teachers, they have a lot of conversation there around parents and prompting and everything else. There's an awful lot to come. But Lena, are there any logistics that you want to give mention to now at this point before we do a final round of applause?